Hello everyone, I'm Aaron, a birding naturalist. Welcome back to another video. Have you ever been in the Sacramento area and seen sea lions? I wondered what's their story? How'd they get here? Well, so glad you asked. First off, just to confirm, you're not crazy. If you've been in the Sacramento area and looked down into the Sacramento River or even some parts of the lower American River and seen this large, dark body swimming through the water, something that looks a lot like a marine mammal, you're right, it is. It is a California sea lion. How they get here, what they're doing, some of the interesting facts about these animals are all what I want to talk about today. So first off, why are they sea lions and not seals? So there are three big, easy ways of identifying a sea lion from a seal. One is sea lions have external ear flaps. And so on the sides of their heads, you can see they have little ears. Seals lack external ear flaps. Another one is their front flippers. Sea lions have long front flippers, which are very opposable, very active, very mobile. And this is because the front flippers on a sea lion are actually how they get their major propulsion. It's how they move themselves through the water, by pushing themselves with their front flippers. Seals have much smaller front flippers, which they mostly use just for steering and not for most of their propulsion. Third thing, the back flippers. Sea lions have the ability to actually tuck their back flippers underneath their bodies and so lift themselves up off of the ground when they are on land. So their entire belly can be up off the ground and they can almost do a sort of shuffling run. Seals, however, do not have this ability. Seals get most of their propulsion from their back flippers, and they are much more sort of elongated, and they don't have the ability to curve their spine, the back part of their spine, under their bodies and lift themselves off the ground. So anytime you see a seal on land, its belly is going to be on the ground. It's going to be galumphing along, and that's really the only way they can move when they're on land. Sea lions, like I said, can get those back feet kind of underneath them and can lift themselves up. And so their bellies are actually off the ground. So three good ways of identifying sea lion versus seal. And so these are sea lions, in particular, California sea lions, which are native to a range along the coasts from about Alaska down to Baja California, central Mexico, on the Pacific side. They breed on isolated beaches, rocky islands, that kind of thing, places where it's safe for them to haul out and for the females to give birth to their pups. In some parts of their range, these animals migrate, sometimes impressive distances. Some of these individuals will migrate from sort of the central, even southern California coast, all the way up to Alaska. Some of them, however, in the southern part of their range, have realized they don't really have to migrate at all. And so animals that live in like the Gulf of Mexico, they really have it easy. They don't really have to go anywhere. And so they don't. They're basically a non-migratory population. And so it's interesting, this species is an interesting example of differential migratory strategies, where depending on where an individual lives, it may adopt one of a range of migrations. So some of them don't migrate at all. Some of them migrate short periods. Some of them migrate for farther distances. Some of them migrate very much longer distances and come back to their breeding colonies. And that really, that migration is how we end up with sea lions coming from the Pacific Ocean through San Francisco Bay, through the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta, to the Sacramento River, and up to the metropolitan area of Sacramento, where I am right now. You can see behind me over here the iconic Tower Bridge. Those are the buildings of downtown Sacramento over there. And this right here, that water right there is the Sacramento River. And sure enough, there are some sea lions actually behind me. I'll try to get some photos and video. But they're hanging out here. And they do this a fair bit during sort of late fall, all through the winter, and the early spring. Basically their non-breeding season. During the non-breeding season, that's when a lot of these migrations occur, if they're going to migrate. And it's where a group of sea lions have discovered this neat spot that you can go to in Sacramento and rest and hang out, where there are not a whole ton of other sea lions. So there's not a lot of crowding, and there are fish in the river, and so there's lots of food to eat. And there are docks like this one, where you can haul out and just sort of relax in the sun and preen and hang out with your buddies and just sort of chill and build up a lot of energy reserves. Because from about May to August is the breeding season. And that's when these sea lions will leave here and they will swim down to their breeding colonies. And interestingly, the sea lions that we have here in Sacramento come from a specific part of California. They've been tracked, and pretty much all of them are male, which makes sense because the males generally migrate farther than females. They're more wandering. And almost all of them come from the Channel Islands off the south coast of California. So these animals breed on the Channel Islands, they leave, they swim up here to Sacramento, spend their non-breeding season here hanging out, and then they'll turn around and swim back down to the Channel Islands again. Now, when we're talking about identifying these things, I mentioned that they're mostly males here, and you can tell they're males because males have this prominent dome on their forehead. It's called a sagittal crest. Females don't really have much of a crest. Males have a pretty prominent bulge kind of on their foreheads, and that's how you tell male from female. Males are also much bigger. Female California sea lions and their adult size range to about 200, 250 pounds. These males can be up in the like 600 to 800 pound range, so they're much bigger animals. And so they come up here to, like I said, recharge their batteries. And it's really fun to be able to watch them here. It's fun to watch them in the water as they are fishing, which they are very effective at. And it's also fun to watch them when they haul out onto piers and docks and the like, because you can see them grooming themselves. You can watch them using those long front flippers for thermoregulation. They'll stick them up into the breeze to cool themselves down or into the sun to warm themselves up. It's really fun to also watch them just kind of bounce off each other. These are very social animals, and so they're often seen in groups. Sometimes you will see them solo, but often you'll see them in groups, and watching them kind of jostle for position and kind of figure out all of their social interactions can be very entertaining. They can also be quite loud, which can also be really fun. They do this roaring bark, which some people think is dog-like, but it's very sea lion-like. One of the reasons that many of these animals have come up and discovered Sacramento is kind of as a response to their population increases. These animals are getting more numerous kind of dramatically right now. They're recovering from a lot of the hunting that happened 100 years ago or so and beyond, which really drove their populations down quite dramatically. But ever since protective laws were in place, their population's been doing really great and they're becoming more and more numerous. But part of that is that as they get more crowded in certain areas, there's sort of more of an incentive for individuals to explore new spots. And so that's how these animals ended up here. Some entrepreneurial, adventurous sea lion realized that, hey, you don't have to just go straight up the coast. You could take this detour, do this other body of water, and end up in a neat spot. And so this sort of small but significant group has found Sacramento, and so now gets to be our neighbors, even in this very urban area, for, like I said, the non-breeding season. Wonderful animals to see, a wonderful conservation success story and a wonderful connection between different parts of the state of California. I'm actually planning a trip down to the Channel Islands in May, and so it's kind of fun to think that perhaps, odds are bad of course, but perhaps I could see some of these individual animals that hang out in Sacramento down on the Channel Islands, because we'll be fundamentally making the same journey, although I'll be driving down and they'll be swimming down. But going from the same place here in Sacramento to the same place, the Channel Islands, at roughly the same time. So a fun connection on a personal level as well. One final note that I will say about marine mammals is that these are wild animals, they are big, and they can move deceptively fast. And so both for your own safety and also to not harass them, it's important to give them their space. The laws around protecting marine mammals state that a minimum distance of 50 yards is considered, like I said, just like a minimum to give them the space that they need to live their lives and do their thing. So if you do see a marine mammal of really any kind, but particularly we're talking about sea lions, stay at least 50 yards away. So I hope that you enjoyed that video. I hope that you enjoyed some of the footage I'm able to get of these sea lions. And I hope you learned a little something about our marine mammal neighbors, sea lions that are not in the sea all the time, the California Sea Lions of Sacramento. Thank you very much for the view. And until next time, enjoy the natural world.